Tim's really jealous of my coffee right now, actually.
Ooh.
Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Lending Leaders. My name is Alayna Gardner, AMP, and this week I'm joined by Homebuyer, Jim Paolino. Do you like my heavy quotation marks?
Homebuyer, second time homebuyer, yeah.
Second time Homebuyer, yeah. So, you came into my office a week ago on a Monday and said, we put an offer in on a house this weekend.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. So do you want to just explain a little bit about, why now?
Well, I really wanted the least cost-effective way possible to get podcast content for us. So I decided to buy a house is doing that. But no, it was spur of the moment. My wife called it, and we accidentally bought a home. It wasn't really accident. It wasn't an accident, but it was spur of the moment. So we bought our current house a little over 2 years ago. Been very happy with it. Recently had our second daughter, and there's a neighborhood like half a mile from us that we've always really liked and wanted to be in long term. We generally hate the phrase forever home, but the home we're in now is our first house. We didn't really see her. We could have been in there longer if we wanted to, long term, but we saw a house that was in the area we really wanted. Great kind of floor plan, a little more space for us. So just made a lot of sense for us long term. It popped up on Zillow Friday. My wife texted me like Friday. And kind of jokingly, we saw there was an open house at 5:30 that day. So we said, okay, let's go. Let's go over. Dragged our two daughters along. Took a look. Liked it enough. Went back to an open house Sunday. During that time, got our pre-qual together. Actually looked at our budget, right? Figured this out because we, timing-wise, we didn't have a seller contingency to sell our home, nor did we want one because of the... It would be tough to get the offer accepted with that, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. So we need to sell our home quickly, but we got the offer approved. We put it in by Monday morning, got it approved Monday night. And then that was when I said, hey, we could probably talk about this on our podcast. Huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that brought, it was a few takeaways, right? We went with the mortgage broker I had used before, and it was really helpful because I went into his POS. Everything was there. So I was able to, that Friday night after the open house, I applied for the mortgage for the pre-qual very quickly, very easily. Went back and forth with them a little bit. Got the pre-qual that we needed to make the offer. So that process was easy. It was definitely a competitive market. I mean, this is a house that needs a little love, I would say. And still, we beat out 6 other offers. We had an escalation clause. We were under a lot of pressure to waive the inspection. We didn't, but we definitely, that was kind of a big part of the conversation. We definitely had to figure out how to make our offer attractive without waiving that.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Well, one thing I think that's really on the top of everyone's mind right now is the NAR settlement. So the last time you bought a house, it was pre-NAR. So you had a the same structure that's been around forever. And now in a post-NAR world, did you see a difference in negotiating and all of that?
Yes, I think we kind of lucked out because I knew that, well, for starters, we were at the open house without a realtor. We had someone we worked with in the past that we were going to be working with again, but it was such on a whim, we looked at a house ourselves without any agreement signed. We weren't working with a realtor, so that was okay, right? So I went up to the seller's realtor, asked them about the buyer's commission. They had said that it was 2%. Apparently, the seller really pushed for that 2% opposed to 3%. So I had that as an anchor number before going over a buyer agency agreement with our realtor. Right. So if I had signed an agreement, if it was a different situation, that could have been 2.5%, 3%. And that 0.5%, 1% difference we would have been on the hook for, which is a few $1,000s. So it's not nothing when you're trying to get that money down to buy the house. So I was fortunate that I asked. But I'm fortunate that our realtor was willing to kind of be flexible in that situation, knowing we were about to make an offer. We were about to sell our current houses if this went through. So I actually just had the conversation on the other side because we're getting our house ready to get listed, that we have to figure out what the seller commission is going to be. The buyer commission will be listed as for us as the seller. And we chose to make it list it as negotiable. Right. And the general idea is that, a sales price and commission, they affect each other. Right. So like a lower sales price, but a lower commission versus a higher sales price, higher commission could balance out. So we're really just looking at the sales price minus the commission. So that way it allows us to see what happens in the offer, and the buyer are making different agreements with anyone anyway. So, it was definitely, I think there's a lot of pressure for realtors, especially seller agents, to push for that 3% to make the house feel sellable. Having seen that commission be 2% on the other side and them still have 7 offers, it definitely gave me confidence. I was debating making it just a flat fee, saying like $10,000. That's it. Right. Yeah. Because it's a lot in my mind, it's a lot easier to argue 0.5% opposed to like real money when you have a number be listed. So it'll be interesting to see. I think people are slowly figuring out how low they can make that number. I think the downward pressure is there. The industry's fighting it a lot. There's going to be some push and pull. But I like the idea of it being negotiable, right? Because it depends what the buyer does. And it's just a part of the whole. Right, it's negotiable on the buyer's side, so let's let it be negotiable on that side. But there'll be more to this to come in the coming weeks.
Absolutely.
Where we actually list. I'm so excited to list and go through the house selling process too. I think I'm sure we're gonna talk about it on this podcast a lot, but I'm very curious to kind of go through all of that and kind of be on the other side, opposed to getting offers rejected, being nervous about being the buyer.
Absolutely. So. And one other thing that you kind of mentioned to me throughout this process is you applied for your mortgage, and all of a sudden you guys started getting a lot of phone calls.
No, all of a sudden my wife started getting phone calls, and I did not.
I was trying to be nice about it.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
She's definitely listed as the primary.
As anyone knows, being married is about keeping score. And when we were going through the application, we ran credit, and my wife's credit score is 7 points higher than mine, right? She was very proud of it, very happy, bragging about it. And now she's getting 25 phone calls a day because she got listed as the primary borrower, and I'm getting 0 at the moment.
Well,
so
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of conversation right now happening in the industry about trigger leads.
Yeah.
From a consumer experience perspective, just a consumer side, how does Sarah feel about all these phone calls she's getting?
It seems horrible. It seems awful. Like, she's ignoring them, but it's so frustrating to have your phone ringing every 10 minutes. I think they're just confusion, right? She's like, why are they calling me? I haven't heard any messages they left. I would have been curious and picked up the phone and started to talk to someone, but she is just busy with her job right now and doesn't want to do that too, which I don't blame her. So it just feels very spammy, and like I would be curious to see how much that actually pulls through for the folks doing them. But I feel like it can't be a lot because you're already by this time getting a prequal, and like I think the number, I don't know the percentage, we should know this, is the number of people who go with the mortgage company they get pre-approved or pre-qualified from. It's probably pretty high.
It's a pretty high number. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a high number.
And we were in a rush. I did some loose shopping once we got the offer approved, because then we had to get to mortgage and start binding going through underwriting and all of that. So I had to push my realtor for a day to shop the mortgage, basically. And I ended up just sticking with the person I got the pre-qual with and used last time because they had the best offer. So. Yeah.
And something that kind of came up throughout my AMP classes, actually, and has kind of stuck out in my brain, is someone had said that we are the only mortgage industry in the world that offers a 30-year fixed mortgage. It's only in America, but it's also not the right fit for a lot of borrowers. And when we spoke about your home buying purchase last time, you got an arm. How do you feel about that decision now that you're selling your house? Do you feel like you absolutely made the right choice? Like, what kind of, looking back on it, do you think you should have gotten a different loan type?
No is the short answer. Do other countries have longer terms or shorter terms?
Shorter terms.
Shorter terms. Okay.
The U.S. is it's normally negotiated on like a 5 to 10 year basis.
Got it.
The U.S. is the only one that offers a 30-year fixed rate mortgage.
Probably to securitize it. Yeah.
Yeah. We also are the only market with the mortgage-backed security market. So there's
Yeah. I was talking to friends in Scotland about it because most mortgages there are variable. And they were asking me why it was the case. And I was like, who do you pay for your mortgage? Who services it? Right. Like it's all held.
It's very interesting.
So, I got an ARM because at the time it was the lowest rate we could get. It worked best for us. It was just as rates were going back up. So we were at a 3.8, which at the time seemed a little high in this market. It seemed great. It was 7 years. And I kind of felt confident that in that 7 years, we were going to either move or refinance. Which
and you're correct.
Yeah. This time around, we're going with a 30-year mortgage to start because the ARMs haven't really caught up to the lowering rates yet. Also, just given the timing and I'm at the process, I will probably refi this mortgage within a year. I think we're going to look to do that because as the second house sells, I want to put the proceeds into that, lower our monthly payments, get rid of PMI, all of that. So and rates are falling, right? It's a favorable environment. So if I had the option for an ARM, I would have done a 3-year ARM on this mortgage. I would have done a very short time frame, but it was only like a 0.25 percentage point, 25 basis point savings. Like it was not significant enough to be that. So we'll just have to wait to refi soon. And then go from there. So at some point, I'm going to put the timeline. Nightmare. Yeah, right. At some point, I'm going to put the timeline together of like looked at a house, offer accepted, inspection, appraisal, other house listed, and just like go through it all.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be so great, and I think other than that, kind of, I mean, you obviously decided to do this pretty quickly, and we're going to go through this. This kind of together on the podcast like we did last time. We think it's good to talk about, and it's important, especially right now when we kind of are having this rates falling market. We're hoping volume's coming back. You're proof that it kind of is, right? And coming off the fence of that, like we think things are going to get better. We're seeing them continue to get better. Yeah. What did you see as a home buyer? Did you feel like this was a less stressful experience than last time, even though you did it very quickly?
No, probably. Well, because because it was so fast, right? Because it was so abbreviated, because we were already carrying a mortgage, right? We didn't have a month-to-month rental where we could change. We weren't looking for a little bit and already got an offer rejected. Like it was the search process that I think made it more stressful. And then just knowing like the kind of the bidding part of it, the offer and negotiating that and doing that back and forth. And this is something I post about on LinkedIn. You know, I've bought a home, worked in the mortgage industry for over 10 years, opened a title company, and this is still a confusing as all hell process. Like there are still things I don't know, like all the paperwork you have to sign, all of these things. It's rushed. It's very overwhelming. And I think having those trusted partners are super important, whether they be your lender, your realtor, people that you can lean on for those questions and get their advice, right? And I think that one, it's been one thing that's encouraging for me to see is the need for that is not going to go away because we'll streamline things, but the complexity of this process isn't changing anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up here. So we hit our time limits here. Well, thank you all so much for listening. If you have any questions for Jim as he kind of goes through this process, please let us know. I'll be sure to ask them. And thank you, Jim, for being so upfront with your mortgage experience.
Our appraisal is actually happening right now as we speak.
Oh,
it started 24 minutes ago. So I apparently won't know it for a few days, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next week.